You know how life sometimes throws you a curveball? Well, my buddy Dave got one so big he almost couldn't stand it. It all started on a regular Tuesday morning when Dave found out that his wife, Lisa, had been cheating on him. Now, most folks would be crushed, or maybe even lash out in anger, but Dave. He's always been one to think outside the box. Instead of wallowing in self-pity or storming off in a rage, he decided to channel all that hurt into something completely unexpected, his passion for cooking. I remember the day he told me about it like it was yesterday. We were sitting on his back porch with a couple of beers, and he just stared off into space for a long minute before finally saying, "Man, I've got a plan." I could tell something was up, his eyes were burning with a mix of pain and determination. He explained that ever since he discovered Lisa's betrayal, he'd been feeling like every meal he cooked was a reminder of the good times they once had. But now, he thought, why not turn those memories into a statement? He wanted to show the world, and Lisa, that he wasn't going to be broken by her actions. So, Dave decided to throw a small cooking contest at his place. But this wasn't just any contest, it was going to be a showdown of flavors that would represent everything he felt. He planned to make his signature dish, a delicious, perfectly toasted sesame bun filled with crispy bacon and melted cheese, into the centerpiece of his revenge. For Dave, that dish wasn't just about food, it was about reclaiming his pride and turning his pain into something positive, or at least, something that could sting a little back. The idea was simple: invite friends, family, and even a few local foodies over for an informal taste-off. He'd serve his special dish and, during the event, drop hints about the betrayal. Not in a blatant, hurtful way, but through clever little details, maybe a note tucked into the menu, or a playful toast that alluded to the importance of honesty in both cooking and relationships. It was bold, a bit cheeky, and completely out of the ordinary. Dave spent the next few days planning everything down to the last detail. He scoured the internet for the best recipes, experimented in his kitchen late into the night, and even created a quirky invitation that said something like, "Come for the food, stay for the truth." I have to say, watching him work was like seeing a mad genius at his craft. There was a fire in him that I hadn't seen since he first fell in love with cooking years ago. Meanwhile, the whole neighborhood buzzed with rumors. People started talking about this mystery dinner Dave was hosting. Some speculated it was just a fun new idea, while others had a feeling there was more to it. And honestly, even though I knew about his secret plan, I was amazed at how Dave managed to keep his cool throughout the whole ordeal. He was both hurt and determined, but he didn't let his emotions spill over into bitterness. Instead, he turned them into something creative. That first evening of the contest was unforgettable. Friends arrived, each one bringing a little something to share. The table was set with rustic charm, candles, fresh flowers, and, of course, the star dish sitting proudly in the middle. Dave greeted everyone with a smile that couldn't quite mask the underlying tension. As the night went on, people laughed, sampled the food, and marveled at the flavors. But every so often, Dave would make a small, pointed remark about the importance of truth in the kitchen, and you could see a flicker of recognition in some eyes. By the end of the night, as guests began to leave and the buzz of conversation slowly faded, Dave stood in his kitchen, looking at the clean countertops and the remnants of a night full of memories and revelations. In that quiet moment, he realized that his plan had worked in more ways than one. Not only had he managed to turn his pain into art, but he'd also started a conversation, one that made everyone think about what really matters in life, both in the kitchen and beyond. The next morning, Dave woke up with a mix of anticipation and uncertainty. After that unforgettable evening, the buzz about the mystery dinner had spread like wildfire in the neighborhood. But what really kept him up was the thought of how his plan might finally force the truth into the open. He wasn't sure what Lisa would do next, if she'd even show up, but he knew he had to follow through. Throughout the following days, Dave received a few calls and messages from guests who had been at the dinner, all praising the food and hinting that they sensed something deeper was going on. Every compliment felt like a small victory, and every whispered rumor only stoked his determination. He spent his evenings in the kitchen again, tweaking his recipes and preparing for the next phase of his plan. His signature sesame bun, loaded with crispy bacon and melted cheese, had become a symbol of his rebellion against betrayal, and he was ready to take it even further. One evening, as he was closing up his kitchen, his phone buzzed with an unexpected message. It was from Lisa. Her message was short and hesitant. "I'd like to talk. Can we meet?" Dave stared at the message for a long moment. This was it, his chance to finally confront the situation head-on. His heart pounded as he quickly typed back, agreeing to meet at a quiet, neutral place, a small diner downtown where they had once shared happy memories. The night of the meeting, Dave was a bundle of nerves. He arrived at the diner early, his mind swirling with memories of both better and darker days. When Lisa walked in, she looked tired and uncertain, her eyes avoiding his at first. They sat in a secluded booth where the clatter of dishes and low conversations provided a soft background. Dave took a deep breath and began, not with anger, but with a raw, honest tone. "Lisa, I know you made your choices, and I've been through a lot since then. I hosted that dinner to remind myself, and maybe even you, that we can't let betrayal define our lives. I turned my hurt into something creative, something that makes people think about what really matters." His voice wavered slightly, but he pressed on, "I'm not here to hurt you or to wallow in revenge. I just want you to understand that I've taken control of my pain, and I hope that maybe, someday, we can both move forward." Lisa's eyes filled with tears as she listened. "I'm so sorry, Dave. I never meant to cause you this much pain. I've been trying to find a way to make things right, but I wasn't sure how." The diner's ambient light caught the glisten in her eyes, and for a moment, the room felt heavy with unspoken regrets. They talked for what seemed like hours, about mistakes made, about the harsh lessons life had taught them, and about the possibility of redemption. It wasn't a grand, dramatic reconciliation, but a sincere conversation between two people who had both been scarred by their choices. Dave realized that his plan, which had started as an act of revenge, had slowly transformed into a journey of self-healing. He'd turned his pain into a message that resonated with others, and in that moment, he felt a strange sense of closure. By the time they left the diner, the tension had eased just a bit. Dave wasn't completely free of the hurt, and Lisa still carried the weight of her mistakes, but there was a mutual understanding, a recognition that sometimes, the only way to move forward is to let go. As they parted ways, Dave felt lighter, knowing that his creative revenge had not only made a statement but had also opened the door to a future where he could finally start to forgive. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't about causing pain, it's about reclaiming your life and finding a way to let go. And for Dave, that night was the beginning of a new chapter, one where food, passion, and a little bit of defiant creativity helped heal old wounds.